Good morning, everyone. My name is Sanitha Mantula. I'm from Maldivian ISO Consultancy, and I welcome you all to our webinar on enhancing quality management system and food safety management system with 5S, your getaway to mastering new skills and advancing your knowledge. This online training program is designed to provide an engaging and interactive learning experience, allowing you to process at your own pace while gaining valuable insights from industry experts. Whether you're here to enhance development or explore a new field, our carefully calculated modules, practice exercise, real-world appliances will equip you with the tools you need to succeed. Stay committed, stay curious, and let's embark on this journey of growth together. Without further ado, let me introduce you to our speaker today, Mr. Rasitha Niroshana. He is a seasoned expert in quality management system with 22 years of experience in quality 5S, TPM, and ISO system implementation. He has worked with renowned organizations such as Unilever Sri Lanka, DNV Certification Body, and Halcyon Private Limited, gaining extensive international experience, holding a postgraduate diploma in manufacturing management from the University of Colombo and a background in chemistry from the Institute of Chemistry, Ceylon. He is a certified lead auditor from multiple ISO standards, including ISO 9001, ISO 22000, ISO 14001, and more. His deep expertise and hands-on approach makes him a valuable resource for our business seeking enhancing their quality and food safety systems. Over to you, Mr. Rasitha.
Thank you, Sanita. Thank you for the participation. So let's start with the program content. Let's see what we are line up today. So mainly initially we start with the introduction and then we try to understand the 5S, the concept, the cleaner, more efficient workplace, and then we try to understand what are the quality management system requirement, and then we will go through the HACCP and food safety requirement, which is very required information for Maldives, and then even in Sri Lanka as well. And then so then we try to understand this why this standard is very important to Maldives, because this particular the online webinar very much focusing on the Maldives market, and then how this standard will help you to develop the business, and then implementation. Then we'll have a Q&A session as well. Even you don't need to wait until until I complete the Q&A session. If there's any concern, maybe you can raise hands. You can talk to Sanita, Shahan, and Diranta will be there. So we can ask question like even during the program as well. So let's begin. Let's start the program. Um, so in the introduction, there are four areas we are going to cover: 5S, 9000, HACCP, and ISO 22000. I know, like in Maldives market, the 5S is the most required standard, because in Mali, we will be working in Maldives market for like last 10 plus years. So we know the space would be the critical factor in any organization, even if it's a go down, if it is a resort or if it is a storage facility, the space would be the challenging part. But other standard has a panel like very much familiar. But from this audience, like, can I get some feedback? Can I get some input? What do you know about this standard? 5, especially 5S has a I don't know how many of you are practicing 5S right now? Can I get the feedback? Maybe you can raise hands, or maybe you can put this thumb mark in your organization. How many of you are practicing the 5S? Is there anyone? No one practice, right? Maybe unknowingly you might. Let's see. What about the ISO 9000? Maybe you can react, I guess, like this. So you can react if you're practicing. No, what about HACCP and ISO 22? So all new to the standard, or Shahan, is it possible for us to on the give the permission to the mics and like is it okay?
We have enabled the mic option for the attendees, boss.
So can we enable it? Yeah, they can talk now, right?
Yes, they can.
All right. So is there anyone who has some experience with 5S, HACCP, and 22? Or maybe you can use the React marks like this. All right. So Chaturi is there. Okay. Varan, yeah. So is okay. So right. Tharindi. Okay. So is it 5S, HACCP, or like all three standard? Haran, yeah, I can hear you. Is it 5S or is it 5S standard or like yeah, HACCP, right? Okay. So so there are few people with HACCP 5S and all experience, right? Okay, let's move on. And then if you have any question, like I want this program to be like the two-way communication. So maybe you can start discussing. Right. So let's move on. So there because there are people who if there's any people who already have practicing it and already getting benefit out of it. So that will be like very useful. Maybe we can share the experience. So let me start with this 5S part. So 5S is a more cleaner, more efficient workplace. So we want like cleaning. I mean, like, you can do it forcefully. You can ask somebody to come and do the cleaning part. But this 5S is not like that, right? So it's a methodology developed by Japanese people, like during the World War II, their countries actually destroyed. So they use this concept to develop their country. So it's actually like not entire 5 years. Like they start with first 3 years, right? So then they develop country. So if people like like Japanese, they have a different culture, but if they can develop the country using this concept, why can't we use this concept to develop our organization? So and there are so many organizations they develop 5 years, and then there's a belief system like a lot of consultant, a lot of like quality gurus. What they believe is like if you don't have a 5S, you can't sustain any standard. It can be ISO 9000, it can be HACCP, any standard, you can't sustain. So that's the challenging part, right? So if you have a size 5S, you can maintain, sustain any of the advanced standard, right? So let us try to understand deeply what is about 5S. So 5S, there are five Japanese words. They call Seiri, Seiton, Seiso, Setsuke, Setsuke, and Shitsuke, right? So these are the keywords. So Seiri means like sword, remove unnecessary items. Like first, this is the hardest part. Get rid of unwanted item. And then say don't mean like set in order. So you try to arrange. So first step is like you try to remove all the unwanted items. So this is the challenging. Imagine if somebody asks to remove all the unwanted items in your computer. Is it easy? It will be difficult. What do you think? How many of think like removing unwanted items in your laptop or in your computer? Is it easy? It will be or is it will be a difficult task? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? It will be a easy task or it will be a difficult task? Like that's the first phase. See now everybody we all are working in a laptop. So if somebody asks, okay, let's do the 5 ways in your laptop, get rid of all the unwanted documents in your laptop. Is it what do you think? It will be easy or it will be difficult? What do you think? Can I get some genuine feedback? What do you think?
It will be really easy.
It really easy, right? Okay. All right. So for you, think is easy. Like, why is easy for you? And what about others? What about others? Any feedback from others? So one participant said like it will be easy. What about others? What about others? Can I get one more feedback? What about others? Do you think like, so we are going to start with your laptop. First test, get rid of unwanted items. So get rid of unwanted document. So if somebody asks like, show me your laptop screen and all. So sometimes like, your entire screen is covered with the documents. So if somebody asks like, when was the last time you used this document? So I'm not going to the warehouse or I'm not going to the office right now. I'm using the laptop, right? So just check your laptop right now. Is it like covered with documents? Can you find out the documents very easily? So if I use the 5S methodology, first task would be to get rid of all the unwanted documents. Is it easy? So one participant said like it's easy. What about other participants? Can I get one more feedback? Can I get one more feedback? What do you think? Team, what do you think? What do you think? So just check your laptop and see, is it easy? Is it difficult? What do you think? Maybe you can use the chat. Yeah, so I got one feedback saying it's too much difficult, right? Yeah, I agree. So Chatri said like it's deep. You can use the chat as well. Yeah. So for me, even before, if somebody asks before 5S, like if somebody asks like, is it easy? For me, it's difficult. But right now we are practicing. Is it okay if I get the feedback from a person who said is easy? Like, have you practicing 5S? Person who said it's easy. Are you practicing 5S?
No, but I think it's easy.
It get rid of unwanted. Like what are the unwanted items, right? So that's the first part. So like I try to be more practical in this session. So like we are taking the laptop. Everybody's using laptop, right? So just think of getting unwanted items in your laptop. Like have a separate folder because I don't want you to just delete everything, right? Don't just delete everything. Just keep everything in a kind of a folder. Like you maybe have a separate name for this folder and then keep that items. And then second, say it on, right? Uh, like set in order. So then whatever the items available, you try to arrange it like in a kind of arranged way. So you have a separate folders. Like in our case, we work on the project. So what we do is like every year there will be new projects. So for me, what I do is like there will be ongoing, completed, and then pending projects are there. So every year I have these three folders. So say 2024, I have these three folders. So I'll try to put all the information into that folder, and then there will be a training folder. So all the training materials goes, and then there will be a subfolder, ISO 9000 combine, all kind of things. So for me, it's very easy. So and then like there will be a lot of unwanted items. Like every time, so we are using WhatsApp, we are using emails. You download a lot of information, right? So then sometimes like those informations are not like kind of obsolete. So you try to put it into a kind of either trash or delete item. So first thing, get rid of unwanted items. Save it. Second, set in order. Say it on. Arrange items in easy access. So like when you go into the folder, these are the things available. And then third thing is shine. Say so. Is about keep the workplace clean. Like your desktop, your laptop is a workplace. So clean mean like every week you are putting all the information. You are downloading a lot of information, right? Like I want just you to take 1 minute, since all of us were maybe in laptop, or some of you are in the phone, but if you are in laptop, just go to laptop and see the amount of downloads right now you're having, right? Amount of downloads you're having. So there are a lot. So there may be some information which is required by you, or some information which is actually not required by you, right? So these are the critical factors. So not required, you keep it aside, and maybe there will be some information you might need, like in a long run. So you keep that information in separately. So this is like if you do first 3 years, get rid of unwanted items, say keep the all wanted items in a proper location, arrange items in easy access, and then shine. Keep workplace clean. So in laptop, what you do is like every weekend, like once you finish the week, there will be a lot of clutter. You clean it. Your office area every week, Friday, Thursday evening, you clean. Right. So that when you come back on Monday, or when you come back on like Saturday or Sunday to work, like I have a proper clean workplace where I can enjoy. Right. And then third one is standardization. Like, standardization, what we do is like, you try to identify the like, a color code system, or like, a kind of a system uh, for like like I said, like in my laptop I have 3 folders. So ongoing maybe in like orange color, completed maybe in green color, and then pending in red color. So then the moment I saw the color, I know these files are there. So standardization, numbers, the walkways, path, like so those are like Siketsu, like standardization activities. So establish norms and procedures. So if you complete first 3 years for quite some time, unwanted items take out frequently, arrange all the wanted items, and then make sure you continue this cleaning part. And then you establish norms. So my cleaning procedure, every day I had to do this part. Every weekend I had to do this part. Right. So Siketsu, standardization. Then the last one, you have to make sure sustain. Shitsuke. So we have to sustain this. So like you understand the standard, or like you try to like develop training programs. All these things are there. So like now let's have a small understanding. If you go for quality management system, your file management is a critical. So you get rid of all the unwanted files and keep all the required files, and then make have a cleaning procedure, and then you standardize. So legal, there's a color code for file, like and then marketing, there's a color code, and the numbering systems are there. So standardization, and then maintain. How to maintain this? So you have a procedure and guideline. If somebody wants to introduce a new file, this is how you're going to introduce this particular new file. Right. So if it is legal department, if it's marketing department, if it's finance department, file has to be in this particular color. So then fibers will be continuous in the organization. So this is very important. And then imagine HACCP, right? HACCP. When you go for HACCP, like you have to make sure your traceability, product storage, and first in, first house are critical. Right. I believe some of you are coming from food industry. So first in, first out is important. Like, you identify if there's a new, like, product coming up, expiry date. You make expiry date, like, short expire at the first place. And then when you do 5 years, get rid of all the expired product. So then there won't be any legal issues. Right. So you try to do all these activities. So this is very important, right? So 5S can be a baseline standard for any other requirement. So has a ISO 22000, even 14,000, even safety, this is very crucial standard, right? So in Maldives, like, we are having a lot of space issues, right? Space is a critical factor and very expensive. So if we can utilize space, this is very important. Like, sometimes, like, when we work with the go downs, and in Sri Lanka, in Sri Lankan context, we call distributor point, or maybe like, customer marketing point. And in Mali, we call go down. So, like, sometimes when you try to do a first in, first out, you can't. And then that will be a business loss as well, because like why sometimes, like, you can't identify your product, whether product is available or whether product is expired, is damaged, we don't know. Right. So, but if you do 5S, clean, first get rid of unwanted items, and then each and every rack has a proper storage facility. And then maybe you can go a little bit advanced. You can do like, identify the minimum order quantity. So maybe your ERP system can give you a minimum order quantity. Same time, like, your what you call the physically you can see what are the minimum order quantities. So top of your desktop, get rid of all the unwanted items, have a like separate folders, and then make sure every week you do this cleaning, and then standardization color code for folders, and then make sure Sitsuke you continue. So there are 5 words: Seiri, Seito, and Seiso, Sitsuke, Siketsu. So these are like keywords in Japanese terms, but in English we say sort, get rid of unordered items, set in order, shine, standardization, and sustain. So these are the 5 S. Now, what are the benefits? I think already we know about the benefit. So increase the productivity. Even in our case, like if somebody asks, okay, can I get this training program? I don't need to search entire documentation, right? If you have a proper name, you can search, fine. But if you don't have a proper name, you don't know what to search. But if you know, like, okay, 5 years later training programs are in this folder. So I have a separate folder. I have training, and then there's a category 5 years later. And then again, every year I'm updating. So if I ask, like, if I submit this training program for all of you, I can't use it again. So there will be a new training. So productivity improve. And then, like, imagine if you are running a workshop and if you need to find the tools. So, I mean, you're not spending time on finding the tools. You find very easily. And then safety, right? Yeah, is your workplace, everything is not cluttered. You are not even mentally. See, if somebody asks you to, like, identify the particular document, you are under a little bit of pressure, right? But so you don't need to worry about it. Like, like what are the documents, and then 5S best part is, like, you are look after your training safety part, like, where's your fire extinguisher, whether it's in a very visual place, because in Mali, like, there will be some situation, so we need to make sure like fire extinguishers, everything is in a proper place, right? And then of course quality improve, because you are maintaining first in, first out. Your storage guidelines are properly maintained, so your quality. And then, like, if somebody has some information, even in your case, like, okay, these informations are readily available. So that actually enhance the customer satisfaction. And then of course cost reduction. So there are classic example, like, if you don't know whether what is your stock available stock amount, and then all of a sudden if you try to find reorder that same amount, right? So that will be a critical failure, because that will be increase of the cost for organization. So 5 is definitely will cut down the cost, and then you are like maintaining your reorder levels. So like what is the fast moving items, what is the slow moving items. So with this, definitely you can get more benefit, right? And then, like, I mean, like when you come into a like workplace, if the workplace is like, it's not tidy, like, it's not arranged properly, what do you feel? You don't feel to come to that particular workplace. But when you come to a workplace where it's tidy, neat, and then, like, you have a morale, and then people, they have high efficiency, because, like, you are not wasting your energy for unwanted tasks, like, finding tools and all. Like, so one classic example is, like, the hospitals, like, they actually practice this 5 S. Like, when you go to the operation theater, doctor doesn't search for the information, right? Search for the tools. Like, what they do is, like, they ask for the tools, and tools are readily available, easily available. So this is very, very important, right? So, and then improve space utilization. This is very important. Like, square feet. What is the amount of square feet? Like, in the cost. So we can improve that. And then standardization and consistency is available. And then customers are happy, because, like, customer doesn't need to wait so many times. Like, all the information is available, and then you can use the technology, the tools, even like if it is a software tools you can use, and then like, stronger organization culture, because, like, we work with the people. So there will be, like, people are like kind of a bond, uh, when you're using the 5S, because there won't be like, a lot of internal conflict, because everybody knows like, this particular product is available. Imagine even in your tea room, right? Like, these are the minimum product, like, so you are not run out of coffee, this amount of coffee tablets, or like the powder has to be there. And then your reorder level is this. So it's very easy. So there are so many benefits from 5S. So I'll try to put some example because this is a very small program, like, within 2 hours time, we should be able to complete everything. So you can see the exact picture. I'm like, if somebody asks to find the files, so the person who goes there, like, in this first left-hand side cupboard, so you are like, you have to take everything out. You have to spend a lot of time to find particular file. But if you have like, organized manner, and then you can see in the door, you have all the list, right? Entire list is there. So it's very easy. The person can easily like, identify, check the file number. You easily uh, take the file out. And then this will be same with the food safety, right? What are the ingredients? Like, in hotel, like we have so many ingredients. So, like in what are the key ingredients with the expiry date, the first in, first out. So there won't be any legal violation, right? So 5S system you can use everywhere, even engineering stores. What are the number of washers, bearings, like, you keep everything in the proper place. So it's very easy to collect. And then even custom information, right? You can keep it very easily. Otherwise, you might say, okay, these informations have been missing. So this is about like 5S. So let's see the workshop. See, like when you go to your work, most of the workshop is workshop like cluttered area, right? Like tools can be find out by only one person, or maybe like in some industries also, like there will be one person who knows about tools and everything, right? So there will be one guy who knows. So what happened if this guy is absent on that particular day, right? So then, of course, you have to wait. Oh, you have to call him and get the feedback, right? But if you have a 5S, you know what are the things available. And even some organization, what they do is they use an advanced technique. Like, everybody in the workshop has a tag. So if I take particular tool, right, what I do is I put my tag. So the people know, like, these are for common tools. So people know, like, if I use, like, if I need that tool, so that tool is available with Rasitha. So they don't need to search. They will call me and ask Rasitha, can I get the tool, like, after within half an hour's time. So that's very easy. And then look at the left-hand picture. You can see it's not safe, right? It looked not safe because that guy is in a kind of a confused stage. There are so many boxes, maybe some oil spillage kind of a thing was there. So we don't know. They are like inviting for some accidents. But the second picture in your right hand side, toolbox, everything is in a proper place. And then like the guy is look bit happy. So 5S can create like, nice, pleasant organization culture because everybody knows where the items are there. So your life is very easy. Then you can clearly focus on your work, right? Like, having this kind of online training program is very important because it's very effective. So like, like we can do the program, you can listen, and then there will be a recording, and then there will be a Q&A session. So this is very effective way of doing it because without wasting a lot of energy and time, right? So this is 5S, you can use it, right? Then let's move on. Now, before I move into the ISO 9000, is there any questions? Is there any additional clarification you require on 5S? Is there any additional clarification you required on 5S? Maybe you can ask at the end of the program, or maybe I can answer if there's anything right now. Or maybe you can use the chat as well. It looked like no question on 5S. Farhan, you had some question or like you're okay?
My chat is not working.
All right. Okay, your chat is not. Farhan, you can speak. That's all right.
All right. Yeah.
So if you have any question on 5S, I'm
Not,
happy. You know. Right. Okay. So if there's anybody no question, maybe even after the program also we can chat. But if there's any question on 5S, we can discuss. Otherwise, we'll move on. Right. So now I've told you, like, 5S is a kind of a basic standard uh, required when we develop other standard. Like, I'll take one example before go 5S, the ISO 9000. Even at Unilevers, like, we use technique called advanced TPM. Right, we went for a TPM award, like, journey is a 3-year program. We work with Japanese consultant for this program. And then, like, there will be a lot of analysis, data studies, and all these things are there. Right, a lot of advanced tools we have to use. But when we start, like, the journey on TPM, and then, like, after 3 months time, Japanese consultant, they said, like, don't do TPM without 5S. Because if you don't have a proper solid lay down, like, that's the 5S, and then your TPM system doesn't, like, exist. Like, you have to put a lot of effort actually to run the TPM system. But if you have a good 5S system, then you don't need to, like, put a lot of effort to maintain the TPM. So actually it's truth. Right? So we did a lot of changes, and then we implement proper 5S, and then based on 5S, we implement a good 5S TPM system that really work. Because 5S basically, like, you maintain your minimum order level, your walkways, like where you keep the maintain the tools, right? Everything is pre-planned. That's very easy, right? So if you go for any ISO standard, if you can lay down good 5S system, that will be ideal. Now let's go to 9000. So this is the quality management system standard. I know some of you are already certified, but check whether you are getting benefit from this standard. So as a Halcyon, like, MICC, we have not include into ISO scope yet, not even as a consultancy, but we are going to include that. But as a mother company, main company in Sri Lanka, Halcyon is already ISO certified. We are getting a lot of benefit, and then we are, like, challenging the system as well, and then we run our organization as per ISO requirement. So this ISO 9000 standard talk about quality management system. It's talk about your processes, and it talk about your customer satisfaction. It talk about your organization continual improvements, and then it talk about consistent product and service delivery. So this is the challenging part. What do you mean by consistent product and service delivery? This is very important. See, as a service industry, we have to make sure our services, like, even if I'm involved with ISO 9000 implementation work with the client, or even one of our other consultant involved with the ISO 9000 work with the client, the service level has to be consistent, same. It cannot be differ from the person to person. So what are the key ingredients? There are two key ingredients. One is the competency of the person. The person has to have a certain competencies. Like, if I'm involved in the ISO 9000, I need to have ISO 9001 lead author qualification. And same time, I need to have a certain experience with the industry. Then only I can become a ISO 9000 consultant. Right? Then there should be a process. Right? The process, how I'm going to implement the ISO system. So if I don't have a process, what I'll do? I'll do my own way, and somebody else will do their own way. So it's a two different. So it's not consistency. Like, if I take one example, like, the product quality, taste from some, like, some international brands, say, like, McDonald's, or, like, KFC, right? So your taste will be same. Either it's in Maldives, either in Sri Lanka, or in different countries. If the same product, taste will be same. Unless, like, there will be some country specific product. But even if that country specific product, different outlet doesn't have a different taste. Why? There will be a person who cook or chef, right? He has a certain qualification. So only that qualified person is actually handling the product, right? And then same time, there should be a process. Your bun burning, the mixing ingredient, the parameters, and then, like, all will be like, constant. The process is already defined. So the person has to manage the process. So your service delivery will be common. Right, so this is the key requirement for ISO 9000. So if your organization is certified for ISO 9000, just check whether your customers are getting the same level of services from each and every service agent or each and every employee in your organization. If not, go back, revise your process map, and then check the competencies. So these are the two key areas, right? Now, there are 7 principles when you go for ISO 9000. One is customer focus. So you have to at least meet customer requirement or exceed customer expectation. Now, all of you are my customers, right? Right now, you came for this program, seen the program outline, marketing material saying 5S, ISO 9000, HACCP, ISO 22000 are basically we are going to introduce. So then they say like, there will be an industry person is discussing. So I can't just talk about the theory part. I can't just reveal, okay, this is standard and you already study the standard. I'm like, anyone can buy a standard and you can go through it. For my job, your expectation would be you try to understand what are the things I can pick up. I'm spending 2 hours for this particular program. Your time is valuable. And then is there anything I can pick it up to improve myself or to improve my organization? That's the whole purpose. Right. So I have to make sure I need to deliver the customer expectation or maybe exceeding the customer expectation, right? So that's why I give options, say, okay, look, if you have any question, you can talk to me. So I try to exceed the customer expectation in this program. You can stop me any given time, ask question. Or maybe if you have any question after the program also, you are free to talk. So that I try to go beyond the customer expectation. So that's one way. And then like, leadership, creating verified version and direction. So leadership is very critical. See, any organization, right? You are basically drive by the top management. So there have to be a visionary leader. They can see what are the requirements for 1 or 2 years time, right? Depend on the countries and external context. We are going to touch that part. So those things are not available in the previous standard, but right now the standard start to talk about. And then I'm like, no, pointless having visionary leaders if employees are not contributing for the the improvement, and if employees are not buying and employees are not participating for the improvement, right? So people should engage. So I'm like, maybe HR has a big role there, getting people involved with that, and then process approach. So everything will be part of the process. Like, this training program will be a process. You communicate the timeline, and then there will be a trainer, it's arranged, presentation is arranged. So imagine like if we started to do the program without presentation, I say, okay, let's get something and let's have a chat. I'm like, it's not productive, right? So there should be a process for everything, and then improvement. There should be a continuous improvement for any organization. So if your customer satisfaction level is 80%, so maybe next year you try to achieve 85%, right? So if you have like 100 customers, you try to get 120 customers. So that's improvement point. And if check your employee satisfaction, if the employees are happy, if the turnover ratio is high, so you try to manage that. And then evidence-based decision making. So ISO is always talk about the evidence-based, like, we are going to touch about the KPIs as well. So the evidence-based decision making, like, your data, whether your customer satisfaction level is going up, whether your productivity level is going up, or whether you are having a issue with your reorder level, there's no some ingredients, or there will be some machine breakdown parts, so there will be a hiccups. So I'm like, there will be some participants who's coming from resort market, so there will be a common like, complaint. So the water heat level is not up to the standard, or there will be a issue with the toilet flushing system, or maybe there's a smell coming in your room, right? Or maybe kind of a slippery surface, or they don't like the food. So if you are getting this kind of a continuous question, like what are you going to do that? So maybe you can do a root cause analysis. Maybe you can focus on the survey. What do you mean by that? Like, is there any particular segment? Because in Maldives, like, you are dealing with like, mixed segment in tourism, right? Or maybe there will be like, employees coming from different countries. So I'm like, your situation is not that easy. It's a kind of a complex situation. So you need to do a proper root cause analysis and identify. And then all this has to be with the data. We recently we had one complaint, and one of our customers said, like, we are running a different operation. Customer said, like, the chemical usage is bit higher. Like, I can't maintain the budget because I agreed on a certain budget, and then your chemical consumption is bit high. So what is the outcome? If you try to argue with the customer, say, no, like, we are not wasting chemicals, like, we are managing. So that will goes as a kind of a dialogue. But what we did was, we have a data. We said, okay, last month we had X amount of samples, and then the chemical usage is Y. And then this month, the month you are referring, 4x, 4 times higher sample we received. So of course, 4y is our chemical, 4 times higher the chemical consumption. So with the data, like, you take decision. So then that person doesn't know about that part. I said, okay, your number of samples are 4 times higher than the previous time, previous month. Right. So then your average is this, and then this month is above average. So we don't know the reason. So you do the root cause analysis and come back to us and say why there's a higher number of samples. Then only you take action. Because if you try to fight on the chemical usage, that doesn't make any sense. You ended up with fighting, and then your client might be unsatisfied. He might say you don't know how to manage the chemicals. But the moment you give data, right? So it's your number of samples are 4 times higher. That's it. That's it. So your decisions is totally different. So evidence-based decision making is very important. So ISO 9000, we need data. And then relationship management. You have to deal with your customer, you have to deal with your supplier, service provider, employees, how you're going to manage. So these are the key principles in ISO 9000. So let's move on. So when you have ISO 9000, it improves your product service quality. It improves customer satisfaction. Customers are happy because your service levels are very important. Customer doesn't need to wait. And then your service are consistent based on you have a qualified people with the competencies, and then they follow the process. Right? Everybody follow the process. Now, if I ask this question, like, all of you are coming from professional background, how many of you are know about your processes? How many of you have the documented process map? Say, for example, for me, I'm conducting a training program. I'm doing a business development part. So I have a process map, documented process map for that part. And then I have a KPI, key performance indicator, objective, whether I'm doing my project job correctly. So I have both. The process map is there, and at the same time I have a competencies. So what about your areas? Like, there will be different discipline, different backgrounds. What about your processes? Like, is it documented? Maybe you can put a thumb mark saying, okay, my process, whatever the process I'm handling right now, is documented. Is it? Do you have documented process? Yeah. Very good, Chadri. Thank you very much. Okay, chef. We have 2 people. You have documented process. Excellent. All right. Right. Okay. What about others? So if you go for ISO 9000, that's the advantage. You talk to these 2 people, and then they will explain, like, life is very easy. Right. So even for me, very easy. And I'm like, you see, there are areas you go down, but if you have a data KPI, you understand, there's a kind of a, bottleneck, right? So this is very important. So with ISO 9000, what you do is, like, you develop document process map, and then, you make sure your customers are happy, and then you get the customer feedback, you analyze the feedback, right? So it increase the efficiency and productivity. You increase the efficiency because we don't want waste our time, like using 5S. We don't want waste our time in the kitchen searching for some chemicals, reagents, right? And we don't want some government officers to come and identify the expired product within our kitchen, right? So we don't want that. right? So it improves the efficiency, productivity. And then decision making. Say I took one example, say chemical usage example. That's the classic, very recent example. Say, okay, look, I have data. So with this data, we will present it, right? And then if you do this, we will get a proper market share, like, whether it's the customer service organization or product service organization, whatever, you are getting a good market reputation because people will say, okay, you go to this place, people are really good. They follow the process. Doesn't matter about the person. Everybody is the same, right? And then ISO 9008 makes sure you are complying with the current legal requirement in any country, right? And then, like, this basically improve the employees' engagement because everybody knows what is my process. And then, like, if somebody question, like, why this is a questioning area for me, because these are the areas I need to attend. And then it will definitely reduce the operational cost, right? Like, imagine if you need to transport product in modules, like, you need to transport cost is high. So if you miss out one item, what will happen? You have to go back and bring it, right? But if you plan out everything, so these are the minimum quantities I'm going to bring it, so I'll plan it out. And then it continually improvement. And then since we are, all of us are doing in the international business, right? Like, basically we can actually get more benefit out of it. So these are 9,000 improvement part. Right now, I'll share one process map with you. Right. So these are, like, manufacturing plant process. You can see decision making point. Uh, I think, like, Chef, if you want to discuss anything, any question? Chef, do you want to ask any question or the previous one? I think it's previous one, right? Right.
Sorry, actually, it's for previous one. I raised the hand. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I thought so.
Right, right.
Right. That. So any question, like, you can ask question. That's easy for me.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Yeah. So
Thanks.
then this is the process map, right? You can see, I mean, like, you don't need to stick to the symbols, but if good, these are international symbol. You can see this triangle one, like, decision making. So even any process, you have a decision making. So, like, when you develop a process map in a proper way, and then process map will basically give all the responsibility, authority, and accountability. Yeah, this is very important. So I think, like, in this team, there will be team members who already certified for ISO 9000. So if you are an internal auditor, what you can do is you can take the process map, get one or two process map, and then identify the responsibilities of few people, right? So I'm giving some hint when you do the internal audit. Identify the what do you call, the responsibilities, or maybe authority and accountability, and then just check the JDs whether these things are covered. So if you think these things are covered, you have a fantastic ISO 9001 system. If you're not, you need to improve it. I hope it's very clear, right? Just check the responsibility, authority in the process map. Like, you can see in this process map, at least there will be three different decision making points. So these three different decision making, like the yellow color one, are decision making. So there should be a authorized person, right? Responsible person for this decision making, right? And then that decision making person just check whether those decisions are, like, authorized in their JDs. So even in ISO 9000, you don't need to go and check the documentation. You can ask from the person, because as per the ISO 9000 2015 standard, people should understand their job responsibility. Like, you not only the document. If somebody asks, Rasitha, what is your job JD? Do you understand your JD? I should be able to explain. That's the standard requirement, right? So this is one audit tool. You can just cross-check with that. And at the same time, you can see the documentation, right? So if you have a thorough process maps, it will basically explain your entire quality management system, because your responsibility authorities are identified, your process flow identified, and what are the checklists you need to maintain. those things are identified. It's same in the food safety. It's same in the food safety, right? So this is the example of process map. And then these are like, advanced area, like, element 4.4, right? ISO 9000 element 4.4 talk about the context. 4.4 talk about the process map. 4.1 talk about the context of the organization. These things were not available previously, right? Is talk about the strategic direction of the organization. Say, for example, any organization. Now we are working on MICC, Modern ISO Consultancy Company. So the top management has to define, develop the strategic direction of the organization. That's very important, right? Without strategic direction, you don't know like where you're going. So this standard required that. So you can use the SWOT analysis, you can use the pest analysis, like, you identify in my particular organization, what are the strengths. So in my CC, we might identify, okay, we are been in the Male for like, maybe 10 plus years, right? And then we have a local partner. So and we have a customer base. So these can be the strength. So what are the weakness, right? What are the threats? What are the opportunities for us? So we do like kind of a sort analysis. So any organization, top management, senior team, every year you can do that. Right now, say the global market change. Now, the USA, the presidential changes, right? The Russia war. So those will be like kind of impact. So you can identify all these threats. So, and then according to ISO 9001, element number 6 said, okay, we need to develop action plan. Action plan for what? Strength, how we're going to improve using our strength. Say, if you have a customer base, good customer base, how we're going to increase their satisfaction level. You might have a weakness. Okay, I don't have a proper skill level. How I'm going to improve our skill level, right? So those are the action plan. So under 9000, we need to develop that. So this is very important part. So this is very practical standard. It's not just having a manual and getting audit done. It's not like that. So this is a very practical standard. Management can get a lot of benefit out of this, right? So this is one example. And then KPI. So can you remember, like I explained, data driven, right? So any organization, you can have your dashboard, right? So this is the kind of organization you said, okay, first pass yield, downtime, reject ratio, customer satisfaction, gross margin. So maybe like, if it is a like, resort, you can have KPIs like, customer satisfaction index. We want to have a customer satisfaction index in two different ways. One is the rooms and the like, accommodation quality. Other one is the food quality. So accommodation quality, we want to maintain 95%. And then food quality, 95%. So you have a separate question here. Get the feedback, first hand feedback from customer. Analyze, like once a month, you have a management meeting. Like, if it is 95, you're fine, maintain it. So some might say, okay, my average is about 85. I have a 10% gap. Now you can develop action plan. You can identify what are the key areas, why they are not happy about our main services, our food. Develop action plan for that. So this is what ISO 9000 talk about. All your KPIs. You're like, you can evaluate your marketing, getting new business, getting customers, the volumes, new product introduction. All these things are part of ISO 9000. So this is very important area. Right. Now, any question up to quality management system. So we discussed two areas. One is 5S. We discuss, and then we discuss about quality management system. Do you have any question up to quality management system 9000? Any question, anything to be add, any clarification? I should give you more information about 9000? Maybe use the chat, or maybe after this program, maybe you can ask question. So let's move on. Right. So HACCP, I think in modules, everybody knows about HACCP, right? So it's maintain the food safety. So like, 5S, ISO 9000 generic standard, you can apply for anything, any industry. But HACCP, ISO 22000, these are food related, like food plus primary food packaging. Say, for example, now, what do you mean by primary food packaging is like, you have a boxes, styrofoam boxes. We call Regiform boxes, right? So we have a client in Male. They have a manufacturing facility. So they actually manufacture the styrofoam boxes. And they also have this HACCP and ISO standard. Why? Because all your fish product straight away goes into the product, and then it like can contaminate. So they have to make sure like like your food industry, all the food box manufacturing are following the same procedure. And in Maldives, like you have a 2 water bottling plant, and then all the bottles water are like direct contact. Like bottled water, you don't wash and pack it, right? So you straight away fill it. So the bottle manufacturer or the machine has to have this certain condition. So not only food, and then resort, of course, no option. Or maybe food preparation outlet, there's no option. And then even go down, no option. It can be perishable, dry food, wet food, whatever. We have to maintain the hazard condition. So this HACCP and ISO 22000, these two standards, which we are going to refer, it will be pretty much focusing on both food manufacturing, food storage, food distribution, or like kitchen can be a manufacturing plant. Our primary packaging, manufacturing, distribution process, right? Other industry like boat, like manufacturer cannot go for HACCP for 22, right? So these are food specific standard. So here there are 7 principles we practice. One is conduct hazard analysis. Like basically what we do is like any food product, we try to identify biological, chemical, physical, microbiological hazard. But there are other standard. We call it, I'll touch upon that standard as well. We call it GFSI, Global Food Safety Initiatives, right? So those are 2 standard like, BRC and FSSC. Those are advanced standard. So a lot of multinationals are actually asking for this standard. I'll come to that. I'll show the web page as well. And then like, after 22, 9 and HACCP and 22, I'll just show the web page as well. So they, on those standard, they were little bit talk about the biologically modified product as well as the radioactive product as a kind of a hazard. But right now, we are going with the Codex guideline. We stick to chemical, physical, micro, and allergenic part. And then we do the conduct hazard analysis. Again, starting point is process map. We need to have a proper process map. And then, like not like 9000, HACCP and ISO 22000, we need to go to the site and verify the process map. That is very important. Physically, we need to do that, right? When you verify the process map, you will find out like so many gaps. So when we do we did some training programs in Maldives, like some resort. HACCP is not a theoretical standard, right? Most of the people like you put the presentation, you run through the standard and all. But what we did was like we basically like level 3 HACCP standard certification. We actually did the HACCP study with the team. So we asked them to like develop a process map. Say for example, simple juice making process map, right? So you like if you develop a juice making like orange juice, you might say okay, you have a juice making machine. You put the wash the juice, you put it to the machine, and then machine will run. You collect it to the can, and then you serve. Very simple steps. But actually, if you do go there, right, there will be more additional step, right? Like orange basically like I'm using the juice making machine, right? So maybe I'm sorry if people are not maybe familiar, but I think there will be at least few people familiar. So juice making. So you take the orange, you don't peel off with the machine, right? You put it into a kind of like chemical where it like kill all the bacteria, right? So there are standard. So that has to be there. And then you take the orange from your hand. So your hand has to be clean. That step has to be there. So you take it and put it to the loader into the machine. And then inside that machine, there will be a sharp blade, metal blade. It cut. So that should be there. So imagine if there's a metal piece, if that like blade is damaged, what will happen? What will happen? And then machine is quite good. So imagine if machine is, there will be some plastic part. And then you are collecting into the can, right? And then you are like, you are putting into the wash glass. So you are manually transfer. You are like, there will be a human contact. So those steps has to be there. So when you develop process map, And then when you verify the process map is very important. So when you do this HACCP program, try to make it more practical, right? Try to make it more practical. Don't just uh, stick to the theory part, right? So make it practical. Go and see if it is a butchery. Go and see if it is a go down. Go and see how do they pack, repack. Say for example, if it is a cashew, you bring the cashew can and then like you say, okay, can transfer into the bags. That's it. But if you go to the exact like an exact side, you transfer into some other trolley, and then maybe you have another gadget to take the cashew and put it in the bag, right? So those things are there. So when you do HACCP study, you need to make sure all these things are captured, right? So this is very important, right? And then only you do the HACCP study, and then you identify the critical point, and then you identify the critical limits. Say, for example, if it is a bakery, what are the critical limits for oven? Or maybe cooking. What are the critical limits for cooking temperature? Or maybe your storage, outlet. What is the temperature? 65, 60, what are the temperature? So then you identify your critical control point, or what are the critical control point. We call it CCP points, right? Maybe your refrigerator, there will be critical control points. And then there should be corrective action if there's a gap. So when you go for ISO 22000 and HACCP only talk about the CCP, but ISO 22000 talk about OPRP, Operational Prerequisite Program. So it is basically help you to actually play around. But if there's a violation in the critical control point, you can't do anything. I'm like, say, the temperature is out, you have to discard the entire thing. But if you set an operational prerequisite, you have a limit to play around, right? So you can minimize the waste, right? But if the critical limit violation is out, right? So action limit, and then you have to verify the system limit. You might say, okay, most of the resorts, the kitchen, you have a hand washing facility, but if you check how many of people are actually washing their hand in a proper way. So when you do the training, if you ask do you know how to wash your hand? People will say yes. But if you ask them to demonstrate, they will come up with weird hand washing facility. So that's one way of verifying it, right? Or otherwise, what you can do is you can get the lab and ask lab people to kind of a spot audit. I'll come to that. That will be the trend in future, right? This GFSI, FSSC guideline, they all audit now. Right now, when you go for HACCP 22, all plan schedule audit. But FSSC, no, all there will be at least one audit with the cycle, unplanned, unscheduled audit, right? So maybe you can ask lab people to come and check hands ops, and then you can actually see whether people are actually washing their hands or not, right? So this is one area. So verifying, and then record keeping. So this record keeping is very important, maybe because sometimes customers are making complaint. So after they go back to their own countries, they will say, okay, I had an issue with you. There was an issue, and then they might ask big compensation. But if you have a proper record keeping and test report, so these are the additional benefit of HACCP and ISO 20000. You can prove this test, the product has been come through this the channel. I have all the data, the temperature, cooking, storage, all the data is here. I have a supply evaluation informations are there, and then even I have water as well as the food testing results with me. So it cannot be true, right? So otherwise, you might need to pay him the compensation, right? So it's a management call, but if the customer is very important, you can do the compensation part. But as a technical people, we can provide all the information, record, keeping everything. So that will be even legally accepted. So this is very important part, right? So let's move on. So this is the hazard. So there are benefits, ensure food safety, and then it will meet the legal requirement. Now in Maldives, there will be a lot of changes going on in the food safety. I'll touch upon that area as well. So there will be a lot of changes going on, and then it minimize foodborne illness, or maybe make it prevent, improve food quality, and then it will boost customer confidence. Even to operators, They will ask for this. And then moment you said, okay, I'm certified, this is my certification. Maybe these are test reports. So they are happy. And then it improve the process efficiency. And then since the modules is like, mainly focusing on the international trades, it will help them. And then brand reputation, and then improve the backward traceability. So this is has a part will be basically helping. And then food safety. So here I'll touch upon the additional. So if you have a hazard, it's very easy to get ISO 9000. Why? Sorry, ISO 22000. Because there are certain additional elements you need to include. So HACCP has to be there as an operational part, right? And then you improve the quality management system, you improve the management requirements, and then management review, you improve the internal audits, all these things are there. So, and any organization, like, say, for example, if you are certified for HACCP, then automatically you can get the certificate for sorry, it should be other way around. If you're certified for ISO 20000, you can get the HACCP certificate as well, because ISO 20000 already cover the HACCP requirement, and then there will be additional requirement. Management review, job description, all these things are kind of a requirement, and then strategic direction, like context, all things are kind of additional requirements. So best thing, you can get ISO 20000, and then same time you can maintain your HACCP certificate. So with the certification body which you are working with, so you can ask them, like, give us both certificate, because we need, because still some people require HACCP, but it's already inbuilt there. So under ISO 20000, basically what you need to do is, like, include the additional requirements, strategic direction, the like, other documentation part, the internal audit, management review. So if you do this part, you can basically cover the ISO 20000. So same benefits you can get: food safety, compliance, customer trust, process efficiency, football, like, support global market. So these are basic requirements. So these are the key two requirements under HACCP Plan 22, right? And then this is like, kind of a summary format. You do the process map, you identify the hazard. So then you identify what are the critical hazard, like, under microbiology, under chemical, under physical, under allergenic. So allergenic is a key area, because you are dealing with a lot of Europeans. So there will be, like, a lot of allergens coming up. So then we need to have a proper internal communication process, like, how do you communicate up to kitchen, up to service department, and then you identify the CCPs, and then mechanism for management of the CCPs. And then if there's not met CCP, what are you going to do? So all these things as a kind of a CCP plans has to be there. And then there will be another requirement. I'll just touch upon this requirement. Under FSSC, Food Safety Certification System, or BRC, British Retail Consortium, under ISO 22000, still we are not touched this area, but maybe future they will be touching this area called fraud and threat, right? So this is very important. I thought, like, we will be touched these areas as well. Like, imagine HACCP ISO 22000 still talk about system driven chemical, physical, microallergen hazard part, system driven, right? Like, we try to understand whether our system is capable of minimizing chemical, physical, microallergenic. That's what we do. But what happened if somebody purposely decided to put something into our food? What do you think? So that ISO 22 HACCP system is not capable of preventing it. Or maybe, like, somebody tried to do adulteration. Say you're bringing particular oil and then they add something else, right? So those kind of a thing, maybe purposely or maybe unknowingly. So these are, like, you're dealing with so many suppliers. There will be some agent. So you are getting product from, like, you said, okay, we are getting product from Dubai, but we don't know, like, suppliers coming from which country. So maybe in particular country, there will be some adulteration, right? So, or maybe in your process, like, there will be people, they purposely try to put something into the product, that the threat assessment. So that is the area we are going to touch upon in other standard. So they will, like, you need to have a background survey of the people. You need to have a, like, CCTV monitoring mechanism, right? So high risk product. So especially when you're dealing with the VIPs. So those things are, like, kind of a requirement. So that's why, like, a lot of multinational, they are very much focusing on these areas, right? The fraud and the threat analysis. So when you go for like, when you update this standard, HACCP ISO 22000 into FSSC and BRC standard, right? You need to do this. So I'll show this requirement later on. But a lot of multinational which is still available in the Mali and work for the Europe already got this certificate. So there are 5 organizations already got this certificate. And then like, this FSSC, not like other standard, they have a web page separate, and then that will basically show your name and your whether validity or not validity part. This is very important. Any question up to now in food safety part? Any question? Any question? Right. Let me change this 2 minutes. Let me change the standard part. I'll show you this web page. Web page is right. Okay. I hope you can see this, right? This web page, you can see this. Can you see the web page?
Yes, sir.
Right. So this is the web page, FSSC. I'll go back and show you the. So in like now, I think like most of you have covered, like, you have a ISO has a certificate. But if somebody wants to know whether you are actually certified or where I can get the information, is not there. Right. So this 5 companies already certified in Mali for FSSC. So if I remove, so only 5 companies are certified. Right. This is a live document. Live. So there are 37,023 certified organization worldwide. So all these informations are there, right? So these are search. This is the original site called FSSC. I just go to the public register. But if you go to this FSSC, so it's basically covered everything. So maybe you can check the FSSC site and get information. So now this will be the trend, right? Like, people will want you to be present online, whatever the informations are there in food safety. So that will be like kind of a challenging requirement, right? I'll come back to the presentation. Am I back with the presentation now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. So let's move on. So these are food safety part. And then, so these are the relevant standard, like, why we go for the standard. One is mainly like in Sri Lanka also, like Sri Lanka, there's an additional export market is there, but we are looking for tourism and hospital industry. So these standards are like, essential, especially to operators, and they will basically like ask for this. And then we had to make sure like, local food safety, because in Maldives, I think 99% of the product you are importing. And then in the government now they are putting a lot of controls, restriction on food safety as well. And then same time sustainability, like, everybody is having a sustainability issues right now. The temperature goes up and all issues are coming up. So maybe we can use 5S, and even when you do the context analysis, we can use how to minimize the environmental pollution as well, like without going for ISO 14,000, those kind of a standard, right? So, and then these are the kind of latest food safety development you can see in August 2024 is very recent. Food Act is there, Act number 6, 2024. So there are some food acts coming up, still in the draft state. So these things are already there. And then there in Maldives, you have a food safety policy. Already policy is there. And then mandatory regulation for food business to ensure accountability and adherence to the safety standard. All food vendors, including those selling homemade products, right? Is that including are required to register with the MFDA DA through the portal by February 23, 2025, right? So there are like lot of food related restrictions are coming up in Mali right now, and then nationwide food safety inspections are going on. So even in this Ramadan period, there will be like a lot of inspection going on, and then they are very key on that. And then see in this inspection focus on pest control measures, storage condition, adherence to the temperature requirements specified on food labels, right? So you have to check these are legal requirements, right? Additionally, officers are examining expiry date, food packaging, and labeling, and prevent the sales of expired or important storage goods, right? So this is very important. And then international standard adaptation. So here we talk about ISO 22000 has a 9000. Now you can see the trend, right? So there are 5 organizations already go through the FSSC requirement, the additional standard requirement. So even in Sri Lanka, very slowly they started, but right now all multinational, they were pushing all the industries or co-packers to go for this FSSC. Why? There are food fraud, food threats they discuss, and same time, audit are not planned schedule audit, all unplanned, unscheduled audit. So auditors are like all of a sudden they come and say, okay, let's start the audit, right? So this is the trend right now, right? So then the how can these standard help your business, right? So first thing for me, if you have this standard, you make sure you are covering all the legal requirements. That's the key area, right? That's you covered all the legal requirement. And the second thing, improve operation efficiency, because like 5S and all the tools, you don't need to go search for everything, and especially even 9000. You have data to take decisions. You're not wasting time discussing with the people, and you say, okay, this is my data right now. This is my satisfaction level. It's good. We'll maintain. This is not good, need to do something. So this is one important area, right? And then food safety, yes, temperature recording, monitoring is a must. Adherent to global standard. Imagine if your name is available in the FSSC standard, that will be a serious marketing tool because it's already certified, it's available there, and you don't need to produce your certificate. It's available in the standard, and then customers are very confident. This organization maintain a proper standard. Even Halcyon, like locally, we obtain ISO 9001 2015 standard, because then when you come to the international market, people know like, okay, this particular organization being a consultancy firm, they have their processes, they have their competent team, and somebody third party audit and issue a certificate. So that's the advantage for us. And this is a kind of a competitive advantage because we are in a market, we have to compete with each other. So the competitive advantage is there, right? So this is one area. And then, what you can do is any standard. How we're going to do? So this will be a practical thing. So what you can do is if you want 5S, do a gap study. So if you want to do a 5S in your laptop, just see what are the unwanted items. Have a separate file folders. Start with the first test. Go to second test later. So if you are already certified ISO 9000, check whether your process have correct information. Whether someone else with the competencies, can the same person follow the same processes. Or maybe if you are in the food safety, go back to the stores, check whether there's any expired product. Make sure there's no legal violation. And then get the hazard process map. Just see whether they are doing it. Like I'll took one example, orange making. Just get the document for orange making process and see whether the person is doing the same thing, right? And then make sure your staff, everybody who participating, everybody who's run the program are communicated this requirement. And then make sure continually you do that. So the one way of doing it is like having a strong internal audit. Even now Halcyon, next month we are having an internal audit. So we are not that much worried about the external audit, but we were seriously concerned about the internal audit because there will be a lot of challenges, right? And then maybe you can work with the consultant or certification bodies to guide the process. And then we are also doing consultancy and training program in Mali. So If you need, you can talk to us. Right. Now, officially, we can come to a final session. So if you have any question, you can talk to us, or otherwise, I think Shahan, Sanita, and Dilanta will have a open chat. For sometimes you can communicate back. So any question, any feedbacks up to now?
Can you again mention the difference between PRP and OPRPs?
All right, sure. See, HACCP ISO 22000, HACCP, they talk about GMP, good manufacturing practices, and the critical control point. But when it's come to ISO 22000, it talk about uh, similar thing. They call for GMP, they call PRP. GMP is a good manufacturing practices. PRP is a prerequisite program. And then they add one more thing called operational pre-requirement, OPRP, and CCP, critical control point. Say now, I'll take uh, Ashma, are you coming from what industry? Like then I can take the example in your industry if I know that part.
Sir, actually, I work in a company which does work for pest control and cleaning and hygiene to food and beverage industries in Nepal.
Or all right, okay. So I'll take
Yeah.
example. Like say for example, pest control and then like cleaning agent. Say for example, now uh, you work with other industries. Say now when we develop this like process map and a risk assessment, there are certain requirement you need to do as a GMP and a PRP. Say for example, if it is a kitchen, the entrance has to be enclosed, the cover, right? And then like when people come inside the facility, there should be a hand washing facility. So that should be a prerequisite or GMP, good manufacturing practices. And then people, there should be a proper prerequisite GMP. Like, when you enter into the kitchen, like, when your team enter into the kitchen, they will be wearing a head cap. Like, there won't be any hair fall, right? And then there will be a separate uniform, the shoes. So those are become as a PRP and a GMP requirement, right? So the challenge is what we do is when it's come to HACCP, those guidelines are not actually available. So when you do a HACCP, we identify what are the GMP requirements. So there are like 4 type of GMP requirements we looking. One is the facility related GMP requirement, the PRP requirement, right? Your entry control, we have to make sure the flies, since you are coming from that industry, flies, insects should not come, right? So the kitchen or whatever the area should be covered with the mesh or the glasses. So if there's a glass should be covered. And then GMP PRP requirement is, and imagine if there's a glass breakage, shutter, then glass particle can go into the product. So there should be a either shutter-proof glass or there should be a sticker inside. So those are like, facility-related requirement, GMP requirement, right? And then like, the bulb, you can't have a glass bulb. There should be a plastic bulb. So those are kind of a GMP PRP requirement. So those are facility requirement. And then imagine if you have a drains. So drains can't be open. Drain has to be closed. So those call GMP kind of a requirement, right? So those are the facility. And then stores, maybe finished product or whatever, cold storage, you have to maintain there can't be damaged storage. Or maybe you can't keep wood the pallet. So those can be has to be kind of a plastic pallet. So those are PRP GMP requirement. And then people, there should be a medical screen people. And if people cannot have cuts, bruise in their hand, so those are GMP PRP requirement, right? And other one is, last one is the equipment, right? So equipment can't be damaged. There can't be wood equipment inside that. So those are part of a kind of a GMP requirement. So those are GMP PRP requirement which we design. But let me give you more details since you have asked this question. Hope you can see this standard.
Yes, sir.
So there's a call TS 22000. So hazard, it doesn't go into this depth, right? But if you go for FSSC and even for ISO 22000, 22000 is not a mandatory, but they will say, look, you can use this standard as a guideline. You can see these are technical guideline, TS 22002, right? So these are the PRPs. It basically mentioned. So the all four categories I just mentioned are the facility, warehouse, storage facility, and then equipment, as well as the people. So here they talk about construction and layout of the building, layout of the premises and workspace, utilities, air, water, energy, waste disposal, equipment stability, cleaning and maintenance, management of purchase material, measurements for prevention of cross-contamination, cleaning and sanitation, pest control, personal hygiene and employee facility, rework, product recall procedure, warehousing, product information, consumer awareness, food defense, biovigilance, and bioterrorism. So these elements, 18 elements, you need to cover as a PRP. I'll just finish with one example. You can say this standard goes into that detail. See, you can see this label part, layout of the premises. Initial layout shall be design, construct, and maintain facility, good hygiene and manufacturing practice. The movement pattern, right? Like, your product, where the disposal part, material, product, and people, and the layout of the equipment shall be designed in the protect against potential contamination of source. So imagine within the kitchen, like if somebody has to have a walkways, it can't be. And then, like, people entry, raw material entry, and waste disposal has to be designed in such way, right? So they go into that level. So this, you can refer this standard. Asma, I think, like, did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm clear.
Right.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, right. Any more questions? Any feedbacks, team? Right. I think since there's no questions, maybe you can get in touch with us if you need any more clarification or anything else. Our team is available. I think Sanita, or maybe Shahan, since there's no question right now, I think, like, we can open our WhatsApp, whatever the channels, if there's any question to uh, come back to us. Other than that, like, let me hand over to Sanita, Shahan, Dilanta to wind up. Thank you very much for your participation. Let me hand over to Sanita.
Thank you, Mr. Rasitha. Also, thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate your time and engagement throughout the session. Before we conclude, I'd like to share that we have a few upcoming training programs. First of all, on the 27th of April 2025, we'll be conducting an ISO 9001 and ISO 22000 integrated implementator program. And also, on the 25th of May 2025, we'll have the 5S implementator program. Note that both these programs are full day paid programs and participants will receive a certificate upon completion. Stay tuned for more details and we look forward to seeing you at our implementator programs as well. Thank you once again and have a great day.